Special he's like super seasoned, he's been playing a really, really long time, and it feels really comfortable playing with him because nothing seems to faze him. He follows through on his plan. Like anything he says, I feel like I can just trust it and believe in him. And I hope he feels the same way for me. So.
Lod with some kind words to say about Special there, and hey, he deserves them at the end of the last game.
Get someone who looks at you the way that Lod looks at Special. That was
there's your goals right there, ladies and gentlemen. But Special with a hell of a performance in the last game earns himself player of the game.
Yeah, and honorable mention as well to Chaser, who 1v1'd Meteos when he didn't have flash, and that started getting the snowball rolling, where they were able to take over the bottom side of the map and actually stop the whole Arrow Adrian synergy and the Ash arrows coming through as well, which then was Special's job to stop the engages.
Honestly, all of Dignitas worked together well to make that game a decisive game number 2. Like we talked about, sort of a deja vu feeling for Phoenix 1, a decisive game 1 win that then turns into a 26-minute game 2 loss. And now they're staring down the barrel of a potential 0-2 week if they drop this next game.
Yep, and Phoenix 1, they were tied for 3rd place. They've fallen to 4th now due to tiebreakers and stuff like that with Counter Logic Gaming, and they could fall even further. And we were talking about how the standings are so volatile right now. Every match win really does matter because there isn't a freeload team right now in the NALCS you can get free wins off of and farm them. So everyone does count, and everybody's beating each other too. This would put Dignitas at 5 and 6 with one more to play this week, and that would, if Phoenix 1 lose, that puts them at 6 and 6. Just one game, one match away from Phoenix 1 being caught by Team Dignitas.
Not only would this put Dignitas at 5 and 6 overall, this would put Dignitas with 4 out of those 5 being their last 4 matches. They would have actually they will be on a 4-match winning streak if they win this one today.
Yes, that would be great momentum as well for Team Dignitas. And also, it'd be really bad for Phoenix 1 because Dignitas have the tiebreaker over them currently. They are 1-0 up over Phoenix 1 in terms of the tiebreaker, and this would put them 2-0 up, which means if they tie, that put Phoenix 1 even further down the standings.
Right, they automatically drop the spot instead of going to the game-by-game comparison or something along those lines, which it will if Phoenix 1 wins today versus Dignitas in this 3rd and final match. So the momentum of Dignitas having the 4 in a row, the ability of Phoenix 1 to potentially have the tiebreaker later if they need it. Both of these teams have quite a lot on the line here for winning this last game.
And Dignitas, they were at the bottom of the standings. They had won against Phoenix 1 their very first match, and then they lost 6 in a row. And now they're looking for that 4-game win streak.
Very rough start of the season for Team Dignitas to grab that first win, to have that first one be a solid note and come off thinking, yeah, this is going to be a good season, here we go. And then so many losses.
Yeah, and then there was a whole bunch of criticism of what's wrong. Oh, Lod, is he still a bad player? Especially can't mess with the team. Keen's not talking. It's like, oh, someday he shouldn't have come over. He's just looking like all the other guys. Who's Chaser, right? And so there's all these criticisms, and then Dignitas organization goes, all right, coaches, let's replace both of them, and let's bring in Cop. Let's bring in the guy who now they're calling the process himself.
And it's working.
And it is working so far. They actually are turning games around. That's one where you suffer a loss like that, and then you're like, okay, don't worry, guys. I've got a read on this team. Now this is what we're going to play. We're going to actually play disengaged. We're going to play our style of reacting, but it's going to be good because it's against Phoenix 1, who are an aggressive team who are going to make the plays for you.
And honestly, that kind of environment, that ability to just sort of relax, let all that pressure off and just regroup and get yourself back to a good spot to reset for the second game and continue to play the series, that's so big.
And they talk about environment all the time. It's like, oh, the air is so much better. The atmosphere is so much better with Cop around because he just seems to loosen everybody up. Everybody seems to be more relaxed, and they're communicating more. And it's so funny because, like, these concepts of, like, oh, yeah, you should talk during a League of Legends game to your team.
Yeah, it's almost like communication helps.
But those simple concepts are sometimes lost when some people are like, I just need to do my job as a player, sit down, play the game, play it well, and just actually deliver. But that's not in the professional scene how you actually get to the top of the standings. It's communication, it's delegating jobs, making sure that you actually know who is in charge of what and who isn't in charge of certain things, but also being able to go back and forth and give your piece.
And I feel like that's kind of one thing that separates a lot of the players who become top talent just on like the challenger ladder from being successful in a competitive fives environment is that communication aspect. You can have a couple of bad games in solo queue, just say, look, I'm going no cam, no mic, no music, no anything, and I'm just focusing and we're going to win 20 games in a row.
Yep.
But in the competitive scene, you can't do that. You've still got to be open with your teammates. You've still got to have a coherent 5-man strategy.
And I think a big thing to just think about is if you're not communicating and the other team is, they are seconds ahead of you. They are spending that time in the future talking about what they want to do instead of having you to read what your opponent or what your allies are trying to do and trying to accomplish.
Taking a look at the bans this time around, it's going to be Olaf, Varus, and Elise banned away by Dignitas. Some heavy focus onto Meteos, while the bans from Phoenix 1 are going to be Malzahar, Graves, and Ezreal, which means the LeBlanc banned away in the past 2 games is going to be picked up immediately by P1 this time around.
Yeah, this is actually pretty crazy because Dignitas had banned LeBlanc both games, even when they were on blue side, because they didn't want to first pick it and they were trying to keep it away from Ryu no matter what and had other priorities in mind. But Dignitas ditched the LeBlanc. They pick up 2 jungle bans with the Olaf and Elise and the Varus ban and Arrow, but that leaves the LeBlanc up. So what Team Dignitas did is said, these 3 champions are good for Meteos and Arrow, but they're worth taking away, even if we give an OP over.
Be interesting to see what Phoenix 1 wants to run in the jungle this time around. Shen has been the first response to that LeBlanc, so they're going to be running that one for someday. And they're going to lock in the Rengar for themselves this time around. The NA Rengar going over to the other side.
Well, I mean, he's still KR Rengar in my mind.
Okay, I guess he is, but he's playing in NA. We're in the NA LCS, Irene. That makes you NA Rengar.
All of our Rengar one tricks, Acadian, Nori, Dardoch, like it was looking up for us for a while, but it's coming back. The NA Rengar is striking again.
It's like a virus. Back around.
But Team Dignitas now have the go buttons. They have the Shen, they have the Rengar, they have the ways to get in. And the Ezreal was banned by Phoenix 1, so they don't have the mobile AD carry to actually draft here, and they go with Jhin over Ashe for the first time in the series.
And what we talked about last game with Jhin being this AD carry who's got no sort of escapes, no sort of self-peel, he roots himself for 2 out of 4 of his abilities. It's a big-time Rengar target, so they've got to have some kind of a plan to keep this guy alive.
Oh, yeah, I think they do this. I think they actually draft Gangplank here because it's a good counter to the Shen. Zig, back in the promotion tournament, I heard a lot of people were talking about how Zig is actually one of the best Gangplanks in North America. It didn't really seem like he was really on point a whole bunch, but it was enough to actually get Phoenix 1 back into the LCS when they were in relegation.
Hopefully we get to see some big-time barrels this game. It's always a treat to watch people's health bars just turn solid red after they all walk into a well-placed triple barrel combination.
Yeah, it's interesting because just kind of combining Zig and the way he talks about his style and the way that he actually plays the game. He's a team-oriented, low-economy carry top laner.
Those words just don't seem
They don't seem like they go together, right? Normally it's like, oh, help him out, give him some resources. He's like, nah, I'm going to play the stuff that scales and helps the team. You don't need to help me. And that's how he plays the game because he's so team-oriented, and he's actually made a very conscious decision to last year to actually become a better teammate. But he was still, I can carry the game. I can actually be contributing a whole bunch. And he's carrying as well by not getting attention. Even in tank meta, it's interesting. But he still does play those meta things and the tanks. But this is one of those situations that does call for something like a Gangplank. The Gangplank Jhin combination, disgusting. You throw down the ultimate, and the Jhin shots are pretty much going to hit.
And the response from Dignitas is going to be Zed for Keen, a flashy mid lane assassin to go up against a flashy mid lane assassin. And we saw Keen Zed absolutely dispatch Hyze Jarvan when they played FlyQuest a few weeks ago.
Yeah, it was disgusting. He got 2 player of the games in that 2-0, I believe. And the thing to note here is they don't have a tank on Phoenix 1 side. They've already drafted their mid laner and their top laner, so an all physical damage composition for Team Dignitas when they draft their AD carry shouldn't be a problem. And that's why Phoenix 1 banned the Ziggs away, because that would give a mixed damage palette to Team Dignitas, and it would give them wave clear. So I actually think that's a clever ban for Phoenix 1, because it actually stops a whole lot of what you would want. Because you want wave clear from your AD carry, and you want some magic damage. Ziggs is actually the perfect pick for the Team Dignitas comp.
Tom Kench being hovered. They're going to lock that one in again for Dig. It worked so well last time. They're going to be running it a second time now. Granted, there's not the Rengar on the enemy team to save people from. Instead, you're going to be saving your own guys from the damage from that LeBlanc. From the Gangplank and whatnot. And there it is. We're going to see the Lulu locked in, as well as the Zac for Phoenix 1. You guys didn't get to watch it because you don't hear us during the break, but I was talking to Zyrene, and I was like, I want to see the Meteos Zac.
Yeah.
I want to see this pick locked in. And sure enough, Phoenix 1 heard my prayers, and they're going to be locking that one in for Meteos. This champion can be a lot of fun to see because of the different and unique gank angles he can take, because of what the passive can enable you to do. I always enjoy watching someone who's familiar with Zach play Zach, and that's what we're going to be getting this game. The final pick for Dignitas will be Caitlyn.
All right, let's see how this one goes, because Phoenix won. They draft the Lulu for protection to stop the Rengar from jumping in and actually just blowing somebody up. Being able to knock him up is so crucial, and to be able to react to that ability, the ultimate leaping in. And now the Zac, so they take a tank in the jungle, so he can actually build. I said it was going to be a tankless lineup. It actually has the tank in the jungle, can build some armor, can become rather close to unkillable here.
They've also got the Lulu to kind of shut down the Rengar and Zed assassination potential. Obviously, if one of them gets just completely steamrolling, Lulu's not going to save them. But Wild Growth and the shields from help picks, both very effective, as well as polymorphing the guy when somebody tries to assassinate your Jhin or your Gangplank.
This game's going to be really interesting because this is 2 mid lane assassins, 2 protection supports, and a lot of engage from both sides, to be honest. The Zac Elastic Slingshot in, the Rengar ultiing in. This could be an explosive game with the assassins in the engage from both teams to try to decide the series.
And it's such a stylish mid lane matchup, too. This isn't a mid lane matchup where you're like, oh, it just goes this one way, don't worry about it, this is how it happens. There's so much outplay potential for both of these champions and for both of these players to make things happen. And I want to see which one of them actually steps up and says, okay, I'm going to win this matchup because I'm the better player, not because of the champion I'm playing or the champion you're playing.
And we'll see what happens there, because Ryu up against Keen. Both these guys, you know, they've been favoring those assassins a bit. Ryu going away from the Orianna, which he wasn't actually performing too well on. We'll see what he does on an assassin as opposed to control mages.
Right, I'm really glad to see Phoenix 1 deciding to switch things up going into this last game. They're not just kind of going to be trying to do the same thing they did in game number 2, even though it didn't work. They're shifting gears and going back towards something that might be able to give them that win that they need to avoid the 0-2 week.
And once again, the fire magic has spawned an Infernal Drake. Phoenix 1.
Phoenix 1, do it.
Again.
They've got the magic touch. Keen's going to be using, I think it was actually you that I had this discussion with the other day where we were watching a game and this Zed skin was in it, this chroma, and it took us forever to figure out if it was actually base Zed or Shockblade.
Oh,
Zed
no, that wasn't me.
That wasn't you?
No.
Damn, I had that conversation with someone.
It's Shockblade that has it.
Yeah, it's Shockblade that has it. I was trying to remember which one it was because I couldn't tell for some reason.
No. I know my skins, man,
okay,
so
you
I know it
your
wasn't
skin.
me.
I'm not familiar with my Zed skin. See, that's not a Skarner skin, so it's a mystery to me.
Yes. The Shockblade one, the way you can tell is the mask more than anything else.
Oh, yeah?
Yep.
I always thought it was...
It's a cloth completely all the way through in the Shockblade, whereas he has a helmet in the base skin.
The thing that gave it away for me was he had the lightning things in his shadow, like the little lightning crackles when he did his shadow thing. That's what gave it away, but now I'm really trying to remember who I was having that conversation with. I don't even remember. But either way, that is Shockblade Zed, and he is as pink as he could be going up against the LeBlanc.
Fabulous.
Absolutely. Throws the shuriken over the wall towards those Raptors, help giving a leash to his jungler so that Chaser can start that off as effectively as possible. Mistletoe LeBlanc's a really cool skin too, honestly. I like all the Christmas-themed skins, man. They're just so cheery. And I learned yesterday that Christmas Braum actually makes a Valley of Christmas trees when he ults.
It's not Christmas. It's Snowdown.
Okay. My bad.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. My bad. But either way, he makes the Valley of Holiday trees when he ults. Dignitas.
Yes, it's great.
They're probably the Caitlyn eating a lot of damage early on. Going to be being tapped by the very last part of that Glitter Lance too. So Adrian and Arrow doing a good job taking over this lane nice and early. Tom Kench kind of not going to have the funnest time up against a Lulu that can constantly harass.
Not at all. And you can see Adrian, they knew that the Raptors was the start, so now they're going to invade. They're going to go towards where Chaser is. Chaser will hit level 3 off of this, which is his Wolves. And the blue buff going to get warded here. There's Zig. You know what? This matchup's not supposed to favor... the thing is, it's supposed to favor the Gangplank, but that only happens when he starts getting barrel combos down and the barrels get low enough and they actually just tick faster, and that's based off of level. So it doesn't actually turn around to be Gangplank favored, but you usually don't have kill pressure because the only way to get to the Gangplank is to taunt him, and then he just eats some oranges, but it requires level 3 for Zig.
Someday is really flexing muscle in this
He's
matchup.
actually just kind of messed up because Zig is level 3 and Someday was not.
Zig got to blow up the barrel and then immediately proc the Trial by Fire onto Someday there as well, so the most effective way to possibly trade for the Gangplank he got.
Yeah, auto barrel auto.
Yep.
Reset it.
Really tricky stuff. Keen getting himself away from those chains with the shadow. The chain range is honestly, I believe, one of the most deceptive things in this game.
Oh, man.
Because they go so much further than you expect.
It used to be worse.
It used to be so much
It
worse.
used to be so bad.
Used to be LeBlanc would attach the chain to you, and if you somehow got 9 miles away from her, it would still proc the stun, and you'd be waiting and wondering what happened. Adrian, 1 proc away from being munchable.
Yeah, looked like Arrow was running mid to try and get a W onto Keen and set up Ryu. This is actually I like how Ryu is just covering the shadow. He's actually, I think he might be dead.
Oh, this is the outplay we're looking for. Yes, it is. First blood over to Ryu in the 1v1. The last caster minion auto attack not going to be doing anything. Phoenix One's mid laner. I told you, Zyrene, I wanted to see somebody step up in this matchup.
And Ryu's just been so inconsistent, especially on the control mages. He's not finding those Orianna shockwaves. Switching to an assassin after he had seen what they were just banning out Meteos, which actually ended up being a good thing. They had to double ban Meteos, push him onto Zac, but this seems like the LeBlanc already is paying off. 15 CS up, absolute bully in the mid lane. Keen couldn't get anything for it.
800 gold lead for Phoenix One now, thanks to that kill and thanks to the advantages of the CS there as well. 28-13.
Yeah, that lead is pretty much all Ryu. He's 600 gold up right now. And Chaser actually gonna get punished.
Meteos in enemy territory, catapults himself in there. He's a level down. He's a half level down on Chaser, but he does manage to steal away 3 of those baby chickens, so grabs himself at least a little bit of EXP and gold for his troubles. And here's the 1v1.
Yeah, it's interesting because Ryu covers the shadow there because he went in, and now he's like, well, yeah, okay. It's not like he can actually go back to that shadow, though, but I don't know what Keen is doing. He's, like, fishing for CS. He's already getting dominated in the matchup. That's weird. Yeah, it's not like he can go back to the shadow. He actually just traded places and didn't go back. So Ryu didn't decide to, you know, snap back or anything like that. Just a big outplay.
Yeah, that was honestly just Ryu playing the matchup better than Keen was able to play the matchup, and now he's in such a good spot from it. He's got the armband completed as well, going to make him that much more effective in these fights. And look, Ryu loses 1 notch of health, Keen loses half his bar.
Yeah, and this is actually going to get pretty disgusting pretty quickly because Ryu level up, has that level 6. And one of the big things about Zac is you can dive efficiently, and your engage range with maxing the elastic slingshot first, is which is what Meteos is doing. You have very unique ways into mid lane. You can go from Raptor Pit pretty much to the center of mid. It gets pretty ridiculous, the range.
And he can also not be afraid of going in what's essentially a suicidal dive, because you don't actually have to let yourself completely die when you have the passive up and available. It's like a free Guardian Angel.
Yeah.
So if you got to go under the turret and tank enough shots where you're like, I know I'm going to be dead here, it still works.
If you're under turret, though, it will go after your bloblings a little bit more than it used to. Or
that's a good point.
Back
That's
in
a good
the
point.
day,
But you're
it used to just be like, oh, well, whatever, ignore them. Now it's like, oh, blobs, kill them all.
kill the blob.
Same
But
priority as champions, I believe.
you're still not dead as soon as your champion health bar depletes, which is better than most other champions can say. Ryu just non-stop pushed up here in this mid lane. He's not going to be stepping back anytime soon away from this controlling spot that he's found himself in. Stays in range just long enough to get the second chain proc, and the Thunderlord's with it. And with this armband first item, like I mentioned earlier, you can see the pieces of what I'm going to assume is a Hex Drinker for Keen coming out. Those 2 items make such a difference in this matchup.
Yeah, and the fact that Ryu got to his arm guard so quickly means he gets to stack it up. He gets more stats from it than you normally would when you just buy it and then soon after buy your Zonias. But these are very efficient buys here. But also I want to mention, like, the wave clear from the Dignitas composition, incredibly low. If they end up in a siege situation, they have to put up some traps, and then they have to look for engages with Someday, Chaser, and even Keen. Whereas the LeBlanc does actually offer a decent amount of wave clear with her Shatter.
You know what's scarier than a massively ahead LeBlanc? A massively ahead LeBlanc? A massively ahead LeBlanc with a blue buff. Now that he's got that, the harass is just going to be never ending. Especially trying to get on top of these guys if he can, but not really going to have the chance to do so. Got a little bit more health now that he's got the Sightstone, but that last jump of the Dancing Grenade, that was well timed.
The way that it works is the Dancing Grenade does more damage if it kills a unit. So it went 1-2, he hits the third, I think it kills that one in time, so the 4th bounce hits Laud for the extra increased damage after killing 3 things previous.
Very well set up by Arrow, making sure he gets the maximum value out of that spell. And going back to what we're talking about last game with the power spikes and the 80 carries, lethality does get built by Jhin. So with that serrated Dirk already up and running, working towards the Ghost Blade, he's going to be strong fast.
Yeah, and he is going for that build. There was a game yesterday where he actually went for an Essence Rebirth as opposed to the lethality on the Jhin, which was quite awkward.
He don't exactly hit the spikes in the same time frame that lethality Jhin does. Chaser moving towards his own blue. Rengar, not a champion that benefits the most from blue in the world. Zed doesn't benefit the most either, but he will get some extra cooldown, energy regeneration from it, so they'll pass this one off. And anyway,
we find ourselves at the point I was talking about earlier, where if a jungler screws up one game real hard, and then the other one screws up the other game real hard, game 3, usually the laner's just doing everything for the first few minutes.
Right, the junglers are cautious. They don't want to be the one to make the mistake. They don't want to be the guy that everybody that's watching the game looks at it afterwards and says it was his fault.
Yeah, 'cause that's already happened already to Phoenix One yesterday up against CLG, where won a game fast, lost a game fast, off the back of Meteos.
Just ruin the entire context of those records they were setting. And you lose the match afterwards. Still over a 1,000 gold lead for Phoenix One right now, working hard to make sure it's not that 0-2 week, to make sure that they can keep themselves in a good spot in the standings coming out of this one. Remember, this is their last game this week. They don't have any plan tomorrow.
Oh, right here, though, Chaser, I think he might have a way into top lane. He is a bit low, though, so I don't know if he'll take it, but he was not lane ganking in the previous game, where you can just Rengar ulti, lane gank, and run straight down, but as soon as you hit it, you will show that you are very close to that person.
Yeah. The person's obviously going to have the Rengar eyes above their head. They're the closest one. They're the only guy hanging out in the top lane, unless the enemy jungler happens to be very close nearby.
Yeah, I think what the process of this game for Phoenix One is going to be is they're going to snowball from mid, get bottom side priority, which they're doing now, and then Meteos and Ryu will probably both roam down there. And you can see actually Ryu's giving up CS to play towards the bottom side. And Phoenix One again have control of that bottom side of the river.
And this is what I was talking about with Zach's gank angles. Elastic Slingshot can fire him so far that he doesn't actually have to walk into the Tri-Brush. He can hang out behind the wall, and it just gives the champion so many unique opportunities that aren't available on other picks.
And you see Meteos, it definitely looks like he still plays this champion, doesn't seem rusty on it so far. Right? He's actually just clearing efficiently, knows how to play it in the new jungle, so it's not something he's just like, oh, you know, dabbling around with.
Yeah, he's got his Chilling Smite completed. He's got his Cinder Hulk fully completed, so he's going to be that much more effective with every single health item that comes out afterwards. That Cinder Hulk stacking multiplicatively with other health to make sure that it gives the maximum bang for the buck.
Yep.
Drake is up still, 11 minutes into the game, still no turret first blood yet. Previous games have had it go down a lot faster. King taking some damage from those. They're going to go. The Deadly Flourish comes in. King going to be juggled around. A nice save from Xpecial. Stand United going to be used there too. Chaser goes ahead, pops the ultimate, makes his way towards the fight, but will not jump in.
It's very hard to assassinate somebody on the Dignitas team because Someday had the Stand United, and you also have Xpecial, who actually flashed there to get the Nom Nom.
It did the job.
It did it.
It did the job. The man was knowing exactly what he had to do. He got there in time. But now the tier 1 turret's going to be the target. Meteos charging up that Elastic Slingshot, just threatening to say, don't you walk near this. They grab the turret, they walk themselves away.
Here's the combo.
Gangplank ultimate's going to be fired. Deadly Flourish comes in. The shots are slowing down Xpecial. Remember, he's still got Laud in his belly. Fourth shot makes contact. Xpecial still in great shape. Zig now going to be chased by Chaser and Someday. Gets himself over the wall with the flash. But that allows Phoenix One to head towards Infernal Drake, knowing Chase is top side of the map.
Exactly, top side of the map for the Rengar, and his red buff is about to come up, so he'll pick that one up. But that is going to be that Infernal Drake taken by Phoenix One here. Maybe a slight contest? No, not going to happen.
Not at all. Meteos can just jump himself out of the pit as well very easily, so no punish there. Cloud Drake's going to be number 2. But just as we were saying, the objective game was slower this time. Phoenix One grabbed both turret first blood and that first Drake and give themselves a very measurable lead.
Yep, and now Ryu is about 800 gold up. Actually, about almost 900 at this point, so looking like a dominant performance from him in this mid lane. Zhonya's Rush first item doesn't really care about cooldown reduction, except for there's 10% on it, not the Morellonomicon, with the 20, and also the Mono Regen. So he's getting the blue buffs. Doesn't seem to be an issue.
Tricky LeBlanc clone there, not going to really be doing a whole lot of anything. as Ryu's still hanging around mid lane. He's got his Zhonya's Hourglass done. Very threatening with that item. Lethality being constructed now by Keen to make sure that when he jumps in, he can get those assassinations because he's going to need to. When he goes into these fights, when the Rengar goes into these fights, they've got to pop the target.
This is so interesting because this is actually, they got spotted. So Laud and Xpecial were actually roaming to the top. They're going to do exactly what they did in game 2 with the 4 people showing up top and trying to get that turret down with what they did to get first turret last game. But it was spotted by the scrying plant, and also Ryu and Adrian were already roaming to the top side of the map anyway. Arrow's up here too, so it's actually just kind of awkward where Dignitas like, we got you, and Phoenix One's like, no?
Not really. Gonna go ahead and tap the brakes on that one a little bit. But the gas pedal is down on Zig's inventory at least. Trinity Force done now, 14 minutes into the game. A big power spike for the Gangplank. Those barrels have some real kick behind them now.
Yep. Had purchased a few pieces, 2 pieces, and then had a dagger, and then was able to back. So yeah, he's got bank. Even though he's down CS, he's actually up in gold off of the global turret gold, but also just being Gangplank.
Just by being Gangplank, you get more money per creep. It's a lot easier to find those economy advantages. As Keen has just ever since that first death always been on his back foot, never really been able to find his own place in this game.
Yeah, even before that, it was just he was playing underneath his turret, and he was kind of testing LeBlanc, but it just seems like the matchup doesn't seem to be too favored for the Zed because he doesn't have as much wave clear. But he will have assassination potential later, but the Zhonya's will shut that down.
Someday charging in onto Zig, and just as you mentioned earlier, Zyrene, as soon as the taunt connects, you eat the orange, everything's K, and you go right back to power farming.
Yep, Meteos though, he'll look at top instead of power farming. He gets the scuttle, has full control here. They're just kind of actually, what they're trying to do is just draw attention away from the mid lane so Ryu can just keep going after Keen. Keen hasn't really had an ultimate this game.
Someday did a good job sidestepping the barrels there as well. Now with Meteos, Adrian, and Arrow here in the top side. Chaser hanging around too. We might see some 3v3 craziness. Remember, both teleports also up and available. Both global ultimates of the top laners can also be used here. Meteos thinking about maybe going in. There is a line of
he's
traps
thinking about it
to go through.
If they get the combo with the GP and the Jhin, that's an engage. They're going for it.
There it goes. Meteos looking to make the dive. Stand United onto the Tom Kench because they've got that save mechanism out. Everybody's backing away right now. Laud's going to be taken very low. Keen jumping into the fight. Meteos going to be forced to retreat. Arrow under pressure. Someday looking to get onto the back line as effectively as possible, but Phoenix One have backed away.
Yep, Laud chunked out, so he'll have to back here. Ryu looking at the back line and then gets out. But they do have pressure bot. That's what they get out of this is now Phoenix will have numbers advantage top because Laud is going to be forced back, so it's 4-4, but also they're distracted him so much, but they also have Zig on the bottom side.
He's role-playing that champion so hard right now, just tricking and deceiving people every 3 seconds. Like, the mind games from this guy are real as Zig grabs himself the second turret of the game for his team. Going to take that gold lead up to about 3,500. And that's really cool that he was able to do that because he fires the ultimate up in there, contributes a lot to the fight, but he's still allowed to keep his actual self in farming mode while Someday has to completely disengage from the split push to join the effort.
It's one of the reasons that, it's one of the compounding factors, I guess, that Gangplank is considered a Shen counter because he does a lot of damage to Shen. Shen can only gank assist with a taunt and then you just cleanse out of it, but also the fact that you have a global to match his global. And if you teleport after you use your ultimate, then you actually give Shen the advantage because then he has only used 1 global to your 2, right?
Right.
So it's kind of just like basic stuff like that where if he used Stand United, I use my ultimate, or if I use my ultimate, he used Stand United, I stay here because he goes away. If he wants to get this turret, he has to TP back, and then I have summoner advantage as a Gangplank. So you have an answer for the Shen, which is typically unanswerable when you use your teleport because of his double globals.
Definitely a good response coming out from Phoenix One. Now working on some lethality, most likely with that Caulfield's Warhammer and Longsword, probably going to be building that one into a Ghost Blade.
Yep.
Usually those are the kinds of things you like to see. Shen, on the other hand, building that Sunfire Cape to be tanky against the AD threats on the enemy team. But you cannot just go for that armor stacking we've seen in games 1 and 2 this game because that LeBlanc is going to punish you heavily.
Yeah, the Gangplank build definitely changed after the Trinity Force had critical strike chance removed from it and the Stinger was put in the build instead of the Seal. It used to be Trinity Force and you use the critical strike chance you get from it to go into an Infinity Edge afterwards. But Infinity Edge needs more crit behind it to be gold efficient because you're paying a lot for the combined cost, but not any more crit, any more damage. It's just the amplification of your crit damage. So you need more crit.
Chaser and Someday looking to make the play on the Zig underneath the turret, who flashes himself out, looking to keep himself alive if he can. Zig looking to make the play, but he can't quite do it. Someday grabbing the kill, but just ever so barely.
Whoop.
Now popping the TP to get back to base, fearing the collapse, getting himself out in time. That was so close from Dignitas.
Yeah, so close. He gets out and goes back to the base, but that's both globals down from Someday, and Chaser is gonna back as well. That's the combo that we're seeing now. Is Chaser Someday is looking better and better over time. They're synergizing really well, but the next step is getting them to work with the whole team, right? It's that communication between the top half of the map, the Korean speakers, and also the bottom half, the English speakers.
2,500 gold lead for Phoenix One. Still holding on to that lead, but not really building it up. It was greater previously, up to about 3,000 something at its peak, but shrunk back down a little bit now. The Dig have been able to answer, grab a kill of their own, get themselves on the board. They got the assist money for it as well. Drake is live for the second time this match. You are seeing a lot of wards being placed down by Phoenix One in the southern part of the map, especially in enemy territory. With that tier 1 turret down, they're free to move up there and get a lot of vision on where Dig's going to be moving.
Yep, Phoenix One, they seem to take control of both this right side bush of mid and the pixel brush, and they do this all the time to play between bot and mid. And whether it's Arrow in the bottom side and Ryu mid or vice versa, they will typically do that. Even though that top turret is still up for Dignitas right now, but because the Drake is on the table and Ryu's winning the split push against Keen, they're just going to keep it like this. Normally you swap it to get that outer turret top, because they can get a tier 2 here. Phoenix One are actually in a really good spot, and the lane assignments are right on point.
Chaser top side, Zig sitting around here too. Still just very comfortable with that. Phoenix One with a lead at 20, have a 75% win rate. You're seeing it on your screen right there so far in this spring split. That's a very convincing number.
Yeah, it means that they know how to close out, they know how to snowball.
But 75% means there's still 25% of the time that it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And Dignitas is hoping that this is one of those 25% of games. They got a lot of work to do if they want to make it happen, though. Still down in gold, even in kills, down 0 to 3 in turrets, which is where a lot of that gold is coming from. Dignitas, with 2 turrets down in the bottom lane, 1 turret down in the mid lane, means they're very comfortable taking control in the bottom part of the map. Lodge going to be jumped on. Meteor's making the move, making it happen if he can. Stand United and Tom Kench, again, X-Special, just providing the escape. As Phoenix One, getting the enemy 80 carry that low, have now bought themselves a ticket for Dragon number 2.
Yeah, they saved Lod's summoner spells by actually using the ultimate and the Devour. So he doesn't have to blow the heal, doesn't have to blow the flash, but that will be the Drake going over to Phoenix One. That'll be their second of the game. It will be a Cloud, so it's not going to be that Infernal that they desperately want. It's another, and an Ocean is the third one that's going to be on the table.
1,080 damage from that Jin crit.
Oh, Chaser, looking for Zig again. Zig, now he has a cannon upgrade of Rate of Fire. Let's see what happens.
He's dropping very, very quickly. Someday the one taking the damage underneath the enemy turret. Can't quite do it. Doesn't even fire his ultimate. Instead, just falls.
Yeah, he's not even going to try right there to actually stop that. Hold on, Jin going down for Chaser. Arrow?
Might be able to make this happen. Arrow got him. Chaser's going to fall on that one. Someday barely getting himself away. Ryu not jumping into that brush.
And now, because Drake is down, which was the next objective on the table, P1, put your wards between mid and top, and get your top turret.
And this is the last standing tier 1. This is going to allow them more control into the top part of the enemy jungle as well. So now they're not just going to be limited to moving up in the bottom part of the enemy jungle. They've got the whole option available for enemy territory.
That's a good
backline goes Meteos. Lod has already been devoured, so it's on cooldown for the time being. Ryu looking to make the assassination happen. Exhaust is used. Ryu has been able to find the kill. Keen's going to be dropping next. X-Special now the target. Can they get him? Yes, they can. Damage coming through. X-Special going to be melted down. Adrian grabbing the kill on that one. Someday is hanging around, but what is a tank without a team? Can't get himself into the fight. Going to be forced to just back away.
It's a sad tank, I'll tell you that.
That's a very sad tank, my friend, as Phoenix One is looking at Baron.
Question is, do they do it? I don't think they do, because they've actually looked at the Baron before up against CLG, 2-on-5, and they decided to go for kills instead, and they're doing it again.
Now they're going for Someday. This is a guy that is very hard to bring down, but they're going to go ahead and go for it anyway. When you got that kind of damage, you can do those kinds of plays. Phoenix One finding the pick onto the enemy top laner, now backing themselves away. They've still got that tier 1 turret on the top side to try to take down Arrow and Adrian, the guys who are tasked with it.
Yeah, that's what they're going to look for there. They're going to look for that top turret, pick it up, and Baron control. Baron will come with time. The kill for Someday seemed like what they wanted then.
Dignitas not going to be losing their red buff today at least, but they lost a lot.
This was a really good engage from Meteos. Lod still in the belly of Special. Comes out. And Meteos doesn't even go for like the greedy play there where he flashes. He actually had 2 seconds on his R. So it could have been an R knockback, but he didn't have it up for a few seconds. So not able to do so. And then the pickup there. Arrow gets ultied, and it's just the blocker there from Adrian. It's the Lulu that you hate to see if you're a Zed player. But a great counter.
Absolutely. 2-0-2 now on the LeBlanc, 3-0-2 on the Jhin, 0-2-2 on the Gangplank. Actually opting into a Sterix Gauge before anything else now. It is going to make the barrels and the Trinity Force procs that much stronger, and at the same time, it's going to protect him from this burst potential that they're taking advantage of.
Yeah, that's what you look for now as the Gangplank. Early is the consistent damage. Like I said before, it was the critical strike chance on Trinity Force multiplied by the Infinity Edge. Now you go for what is guaranteed, and the Trinity Force proc is guaranteed. Then you put the Sterix behind it, which will give you more base damage, and it actually applies towards the Trinity Force. So normally, your Trinity Force is 200% of your bonus physical damage, from your basic attack. It doesn't actually have it on the client. Unlucky. It's word different.
It's 200% of your base attack value.
Exactly. And so what Sterix does is it multiplies your base attack value, and that actually is a good combination there by 25%. And then when it triggers, it's another 25.
Right. Either way, Dignitas now in a 2-6 game where they're down almost 7,000 gold. A little bit over 7,000 gold, actually. 4 turrets to 0 still, not finding any way to get themselves onto the board in terms of objectives as Phoenix 1 continues to push. This time onto the mid lane tier 2. Keen going to be jumped on. Meteos not afraid of anything. Gangplank ultimate going to be used for zoning potential. Lod and Special looking to chase these guys down if they can. Arrow going to be forced to flash back. Redemption used. Adrian going to be jumped on. Wild Growth onto
the Blasco!
Trying to stay alive. Blasco is going to be tossing Adrian right back in the sacrificial Lulu. But they're still able to find the kills. 2 dead on Dig. Can they make it any more? The damage comes through, and Dig's able to grab number 3 in the dirt. As Phoenix 1 find themselves 3 different kills. They continue the push. All they lose is Adrian, who Arrow sealed his fate, hopping that plan, sending himself to safety and sending Adrian right back into the fight.
Sometimes you don't want to go in and be the fate, but it was the right choice apparently. The rest of the team was engaging on the backside. Ryu had taken out Laud, and then Special followed shortly after, wasn't able to save as well.
Phoenix 1 having a great game 3 so far, 26 minutes in, not even. And they take down the mid lane inhibitor.
And this is good from Phoenix 1 because how many times have games been rubber banded back on them because of a bad engage? They engage, Meteos immediately says, all right, that wasn't the perfect engage of backing up. Arrow, he gets caught a little bit, flashes out, and starts making a run for it. And then, it actually looks like Adrian hit it. Adrian's like,
the sacrifice.
I'll do it!
All the way to the end.
He pushed Arrow over the wall to safety. And so
he knew what he was doing. He knew what he did as soon as he attacked that meme plant. He knew he wasn't coming back.
That's where Adrian looks into Arrow's eyes. Oh, hold on, Lod though.
Lod's not looking into anybody's eyes. He's done for. Rampage on the side of Phoenix 1. Meteos jumping right back into the fight again. This time Chaser getting himself away. That's the same plant that Meteos yesterday, by the way, used his ultimate on. Yep. This time it's used for the proper purpose. Rengar getting himself away alive. Meteos not really concerned about it. As a 1-0-7 Zach, he's having a wonderful game.
Yeah, he's having a great game. And it's comfort. Again, the Olaf was banned against him. The Elise was banned against him. Guys pulling bans because people think his champion pool is shallow. It has been. He's not playing those meta things, but he's playing what's working for him. And there's no contest here for Phoenix 1 to take this Baron.
That's what it's all about. You play what wins, and right now what's winning is this Zach. 10-3, the Baron has been secured. 11,000 gold lead. And Ryu says, you know what, I'm just going to grab the Kinch too. Why not put a kill in there? Oh, now he's looking to make the moves onto Keen as well. Ace in the hole going to be coming through. Keen has to get himself away. Zonya's Hourglass going to be used. Ryu comes back over the wall. Now looking to take down Lod if he can. I don't know about this one, but Ryu does. Dominating, baby.
You don't get to buy any magic resistance until way later if you're not building lethality and Edge of Night. And Lod, oh man, the trap doesn't even go off. Unlucky too. That's a lot of damage. That's where you go, man, who fed LeBlanc?
Yeah, who fed LeBlanc?
As your 0-4.
Ryu and Arrow now with Baroned up minions sieging towards the top side. Someday going to be jumped on. He's got Guardian Angel, but how long is it going to be keeping him? Oh my goodness, Special with the tongue to shut down Ryu. Can he get himself away from it? Meteo's jumping around in the back lines. A rampage for Arrow, grabbing the kill onto the Kinch, avenging his own mid laner. Chaser and Keen trying to run. Curtain Call going to be opened up. Lod doesn't want to block the shots. He's not going to be dying for his teammates' sins today. Keen with some fancy feet, getting himself out anyway. Someday going to be locked down. Guardian Angel has already been procced, so he is dead for real. Lod falls to Zig.
Looking for the game.
Turret number 1 is gone. Phoenix won, ladies and gentlemen. 3 games, 29 minutes later, they are going to take this series against Dignitas and go 1-1 on the week.
And they're going to stop the slump that could have actually fallen into there. The standings are so close. And now Phoenix 1 will end the week 7-5. And a much-needed victory for them.
Really great stuff out of them. Awesome performances just across the board. We talked about the Zac, the LeBlanc, the Jhin, the hero Lulu that'll never be forgotten, and the Gangplank bringing so much attention towards himself and still contributing towards everything with those ultimates. And the whole team just got it together in game number 3. From the start of the game to even before it was happening, in Champion Select, they knew what they were doing. They put together a coherent composition, and they made the magic happen.
Yeah, the Zac coming out. That's the big one. The flubber for Meteos. Wasn't a flub at all, and he ended up playing it beautifully.
Boom.
But I gotta say, Ryu, kind of the man of the hour.
Ryu did so much work that game, from the 1v1 solo kill for First Blood, to the constant pressure he was able to exert, to the pick power he had, to just completely killing Lod in about half a second from 3/4 health in that last engage.
This is one of those games that if you really hate playing against Zed, and you're just like, I hate this champion.
This is going to be
the one you link.
Like Christmas for you. You're just going to... Any Zed haters out there, just watch this game on repeat. Put yourself to sleep with this at night. Just listen to the sound effects of Zed's death animation.
It's kind of bittersweet because it's against the LeBlanc, who, you know, if you hate LeBlanc, you're SOL. She'll end up in the ban.
Yeah, don't like LeBlanc, you're a little bit out of luck. But hey, we can't... Beggars can't be choosers, man. You want to see Zed die, this is the kind of game to watch. But that's going to now take Phoenix 1 to a 7-5 overall standing. Dignitas going to drop to 4-7.
Yeah, but that will put Phoenix 1 back up a little bit in the standings. Believe 3rd place. I don't know. Right. No spoilers at the TSM CLG.
We believe.
I didn't watch.
We believe 3rd place. Maybe.
I can't when I'm here.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
A little bit hard. But that also takes Dig down to 4-7, which puts them at a spot. Remember, we were talking about how they had a really rough start to the split. Now they were on this 3-match streak, and it's over.
Yeah. And the question is, does the process continue? You know, process. It's not. Process is going to be rugged. It's going to be rocky. You're not going to be able to just have smooth sailing. That's why it's called the process. Mistakes are a part of process. Losses are a part of process, part of growth. And if Dignitas are really invested in the team and they're for the long haul and they keep talking about that with the 76ers and all that, then boom, you know, they take the loss, they learn from it, and they move forward.
And with their long-term goals of communication, with the recent improvements, thanks to replacing the coaching staff and getting Kopp in there, that's what we hope to see from these guys.
Exactly.
This is a learning experience. They did have a very convincing game number 2. If they can figure out how to dial that in more frequently and make that more of a consistent reality, the team will find success.
Yeah, and their draft this game was a little bit all over the place. It felt like they were kind of going to comfort or what had worked previously, right? They had actually been like, all right, you know what? We don't want to give them Shen again. That's kind of annoying. It kind of stops us from making plays. All right, but we're going to play Zed because Keen got 2 player of the games on Zed. He's a monster on this champion, and he can play it into LeBlanc. That's fine. Didn't work out. Then they also picked the Tahm Kench, which was a little bit head-tilting for me because the Tahm Kench against a LeBlanc, a GP, a Zac, a Jhin, and a Lulu, it doesn't really feel like you're saving them from anything but the LeBlanc. So I would rather you have something that can like shut down the LeBlanc or really do well from the jungle even to get in there and be consistent and try to force her off, or even a LeBlanc ban, to be honest, because it ended up being just completely Ryu, start to finish there, and the team following up. And I think the draft from Dignitas really didn't have much to say about it.
Yeah, the Ryu LeBlanc performance really showcased why the champion has been banned so frequently ever since this split started. He showed you exactly why you don't want to let that into your opponent's hands, because they really can run away with the game with it. But for a little bit more player perspective on that series, let's go ahead and check in with Freak, who's stage side with P1's top laner.
Hey, thanks very much. I am here with Zig, the victorious Zig. Brought out a gangplank. It was great. So talk to me about your thoughts coming into this match. Team Dignitas they had won 3 matches in a row coming into this. Was there any fear that Dignitas was like going to start really taking you guys out?
Yeah, like the first time we played them in the season, we actually lost to them. So we came into this match like cautiously and preparing as much as we can, like thinking over draft, every situation. And yeah, I was definitely nervous coming into today. Game 1, I also had like some mouse issues too. So I was like, yeah, I was definitely shaky. But yeah, I'm glad we pulled out the win today. And everything started going up as the series went on. So it's good.
Yeah, of course, you guys won. I thought you looked pretty good as well. I want to sort of talk about you as a player because coming into the split, everyone's like, ooh, P1 looks pretty good. And then Zig's here, right? And it's like, oh, he's a role player or something about that. And you've got people like Someday coming in, like maybe he's the best top player in the world. And I want to sort of ask you and have you talk about what your experience has been playing top lane in the LCS. You're up against, again, maybe the best top player in the world, and you clearly held your own.
Yeah, this year last year there was a lot of imports too, but this year especially there was a lot more talk and a lot more hype like in the offseason about all the imports coming in. And yeah, I felt like early in the season I had to play a lot of catch up because last season I could just scrape by like playing blind pick, pull my lane type things. And now that there's like no lane swaps too, you pretty much are on your own and you have to like actually fight 1v1s and stuff. So yeah, I've just been trying to improve every day. And yeah, playing against the increased competition has helped out a lot too. So I'm just happy to be competing and improving every day.
And you're winning on carries. You had a gangplank game there. How's that feel to like get to unleash the damage top laners?
Yeah, when Worlds was happening and Smeb was in NA actually, I pulled out my Kled versus him before, so I'm like used to playing carries and like weird stuff versus people, and I think it gives me an advantage too if people don't know how to play against it. So yeah, Gangplank, Kled, Rumble, I'm very comfortable on all those champions, and they're looking better and better in the meta as time goes on.
I want to know about Kled specifically. I believe you're still the only NA Kled right now. Why is this your champion?
I actually, when Kled got released, I thought he was going to be super broken because that was like one of the patches where Sivir and Karma were like permabanned, and it's just like people running all these movement speed comps, right? And Kled R button is literally that, and you don't have to, like, you aim it, but it's like you don't steer it, right? Like Silent Ult. So I just thought he was going to be broken, and so I practiced a lot of it, and the meta's finally in a spot where he's actually kind of useful versus some champions. So yeah, whenever I can, I try to pull him out.
Well, thanks very much. I want to shift gears a bit. I want to talk about your jungler because Meteos has played several matches in a row now. I've actually seen Inori physically in the studio this week, so I want to ask you, what's this choice now going with Meteos, even though Inori clearly is here and seemingly available?
Yeah, so Inori had to take a break for personal reasons the week before IEM, and we just ended up finding Meteos last minute, and he agreed to sub and just play scrims with us. So Inori came back into the week coming out of IEM break, and we already were using Meteos in scrim, so we just decided as a team to stick with Meteos, but it's still up in the air who we're going to be using going forward. So it's just, I think they're both like good junglers, and our team will succeed with either of them anyway, so it's not a big issue in my mind.
Fair enough. Final question for you. You're gearing up towards the end of the season now. You've got 6 matches left, then playoffs are seemingly secured for you guys. So tell me about sort of your aspirations. How far are you going in the playoffs? Are you going all the way to Vancouver? What's going on here?
Yeah, I want to make finals, obviously, like go to Vancouver. I'm from Toronto, actually, and I went to the event at ACC. And
Finals, right?
Yeah, the summer finals, and it was crazy. Like, just to play on stage there, the energy, like all the vibrations and stuff, I'd imagine it would be insane. So yeah, that's my goal, just play Vancouver, and hopefully not third, fourth place match, but yeah, I mean, playing there would be sick, just, yeah, by itself. So.
Fair enough. Thank you very much, Zig. Congrats on the win. We'll see you next week with some more games, and now let's send it back over to the analyst desk.
Next week's competition.
Thank you very much, Freak. And Zig being just a variety of champion player for P1 coming in, able to throw out the Kled, able to bring in the GP now, and he's just really been in a versatile position for the team to really look to if they need a carry, if it's not Ryu, as they said, doing it this game.
Right, I mean, he's definitely someone who feels like it might be a little hard to prepare for him. He plays Kled the first 2 games. As soon as the Kled maybe not working out, he switches up over to the GP. You see Dignitas taking Shen because I think it's one of their best champions. They've had a lot of success on the Shen, and then Zig's basically able to punish that pick.
Yeah, I think he's the player that like you never want to spend bans for, but he's always going to be able to play well. That's why he's like a really, really good player to have on the team because you don't have to invest a lot and you always know what you're going to get.
Yeah, and I mean, when you look at the rest of the draft, though, it's definitely a little surprising. When we were talking about the P1 draft, it was like, this doesn't make a ton of sense in how the team comp works. Like, you have a lot of like pokey, engagey, or burst kind of things like with GP and LeBlanc and Jin, and then you just throw in like a tank.
Yeah.
With not much follow-up.
It's like, what's going to defend the Jin? Oh, it's going to be Lulu ulti, so I guess this comp only makes sense if the mid lane pops off, and the mid lane popped off really hard.
So we see comps like this work. Here's kind of a weird question. What just stops people from doing that comp then? If a lot of people would say, hey, that doesn't work because they made it work, obviously with the scenario that
it's because any comp works toward the mid late game if you snowball the early game. And what happened this game? Ryu just went off. Like, he got the solo kill on mid lane. He is literally just like doing everything possible to like pressure. He split pushes. Dignitas doesn't have a good
bring that solo
answer.
kill up on your screen if we can.
Yeah, and then he's just doing it all for the team. He played so well.
Yeah,
absolutely amazing.
Definitely what really got them their start in the early game. So this was just a really well-played solo kill where he takes a position that's really hard for Keen to walk back. Keen's trying to mess around the minions to dodge and bait out the LeBlanc chain, but Ryu just sits there and waits and autos him, and then once Keen finally steps out from the creeps, he hits the E and flashes early to make sure that he gets that kill.
And Ryu, I don't even think he needed a flash to make sure that chain landed, but he did anyways because he knows this is the kill moment. So he knows exactly the look that he wants to go for. This matchup sucks for Zed before he gets like a couple levels or before he gets stabilized, like kind of near level 6. And so he just took an early advantage and just ran with it.
Right, and off the back of that early advantage, we saw P1's bot lane rotate mid. They pressured really hard around 11 minutes into the game. And even though Dignitas' comp has a lot of tools, you have Rengar, Shen, Tom Kenshall, you have like a lot of ways of making plays. The thing that kept happening was P1 would group up and pressure, and Dignitas would blow all those cooldowns defensively, so they could never get their own plays going until later in the game. And then all of them were just focused on diving a GP, which doesn't really do much.
Yeah, they over-focus on somebody's lane, which is something that Dignitas tends to do. It's like, okay, if they're in a pressure situation, what do? Oh, let's depend on our top laner. Superstar top laner, he's really, really good. But in a lot of situations, that's not the best play to do. Like, they could either look to force on the mid lane, and really only Lulu's the only way they have to peel Jin, or they could look to even maybe force on LeBlanc with Zed, because she's really far pushed up. Maybe you could chase her down the lane. It just seems like constantly diving gameplay was not working out for them.
But we did see them go up top around 18:30 to try and focus for Someday, but just 4 minutes later, 22 minutes in, we have the next replay. P1 goes to top lane, and they say, this is how it's done, gentlemen. This is how you go.
Right, I mean, this was right after they forced another time onto Zig, and he was able to get Chaser really low, or even trade, I think, because Arrow walked up and finished him off, and then they just chased down the rest of Dignitas, who were in the top lane as well. They get this really nice dive off, and you see just how kind of behind Keen was this game. Didn't really do anything in this fight, and then it's pretty easy cleanup for the rest of the
And this is the best situation for Meteos to be in. He's in a situation where like he's taking a jungle matchup where he's going to fall behind early. But if he gets to the mid game, all he has to do is stack a lot of armor, which Zach is really good at doing. He buys like 2 armor items and he's unkillable because they're all AD and no one can touch him.
Really interesting to see in this game. Obviously, going towards P1's way, we saw the 75% lead at 20 minutes, but we see at 20 minutes past those, there's 28-54 in this one, but the 8 minutes in there, say 9 minutes, it seems like a lot of the top tier teams in the league are going to tear that apart. Even if they did have a lead, they take a lot of time to initiate, they take a lot of time to get their groove there.
Right, I think it basically came down to the fact that P1 also had a lot of tools for making stuff happen. The Lulu Jin, LeBlanc can move around the map extremely well. They have a lot of long-range engage tools. If someone's extending the lane just too far, just start it out with a Jin ult. Start it out with a GP ultimate, and then you have your LeBlanc and your Zac who can come flying in from far away to start stuff off. And so once the map started opening up a little bit more, it was easier for them to get some kills.
I think like they kind of hesitated in the mid game, but once they had the right lane assignments, which was LeBlanc just split pushes bottom, she can 1v1 and she almost can't even die 1v2. As soon as they put pressure there and they force Dig to make the proactive play, that's when Dig tends to falter because, like we said before, they're very good at reactive play, but proactive play is hard for Dig sometimes.
The only thing that Dignitas like ever does is dive for Someday. Like it's been since like week 2 to now, like the one play that we see.
Full resource.
Yeah, the one play we consistently see is like, let's dive for Someday. And it works to a degree, but they're not getting objectives off of it. They're not.
Right. You kind of saw that in effect in game 2 when he was on the Gragas and it was working.
Right, and that was something where they gave him a chance to set them up, and the big play for them that game was actually him ulting people into the team fight.
Absolutely, and the big player of Game 3 is going to be Ryu. Comes away with the honors of player of the game on the LeBlanc. Obviously, solo killing Zed. We saw that play on Keen, and just that controlling the map as well. They both had Ignite. They were both playing the kill lane, and Ryu just came out on top to control the rest of the map too.
Sometimes Ryu doesn't have like the greatest of games, especially early, but this is a game where like from the very beginning, you know, he's up 8 CS by level 3. Level 4, he solo kills mid lane, and then he split pushes, applies pressure for his team. And in team fights, he can isolate and kill the AD by himself. So I just think he did almost everything for his team this game, and he was able to follow through.
Absolutely great stuff. So looking at how things are panning out, we did see obviously, oh, actually, no, I'm not going to say it. I don't want to spoil. Everybody said they would spoil the TSM CLG game. I'll let you watch it yourselves. But looking how this week panned out, we did see, I'm a nice guy. Dash will spoil, I won't. How things went for some teams, very good. We obviously see the lower teams not being able to climb up in the standings. We'll check that out right now at how they are ranking after this weekend, with each of the top 4 teams netting themselves a win. Our standings remain unchanged. The teams at the lower half of the standings, like Echo Fox, Team Envy, or Dignitas, must look to make another, or climb another day. Maybe they can do it tomorrow when we return for another day of matches. We begin with Team Dignitas looking to topple TSM on NALCS1. Then we get a rematch of former sister teams as Cloud9 go against FlyQuest. On NALCS2, check it out, we have Froggen and Echo Fox looking to defeat Piglet and Team Liquid, with Immortals versus Team Envy shortly after. So you guys kind of pointing on that. What?
Oh, I was just saying, don't look at the standings too closely, else you might spoil the CLG TSM match yourself.
Yeah,
So,
now the standings come up.
Don't look at the standings quite yet,
I was going with Zyrene, because Zyrene said it earlier. Now Zyrene is spoiled as well. We're all just going downhill from here, but at least it's the end of the day. And we had some good
I just think this week had a variety of really good matches. Like, whether you're in there looking for like very top tier matches, or you're in there for like good storylines. You have like Piglet coming back mid lane, winning the first series. We have everything from TSM versus CLG playing against each other. The C9 teams playing against each other. I think this week was a lot better than I expected in terms of like quality, like storied matches and quality matches in general.
Awesome. So that'll do it for us today. Day 3 is coming up. For myself, the casters, and the entire live broadcast crew, especially the observation team, thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow for more North American LCS.
Here we go into the game. Hey, they locked it in! Whoa, they're playing Mordekaiser! This is awesome! NALCS can't tank all these shots, he'll die! He flashes and gives him the double kill!
Mauser, let's go Baron. Come to us, Baron.
And he catches one, they're gonna catch another. Look at that, 3 for 0 right away. Seraphie just walks in, look at that hook though! Shockwave is in! Lemonation sets it up 5-0. 2-1, FlyQuest take the win over Envy. Mordekaiser undefeated. Looking for it again, Jensen. Oh, that's so much damage. Shot lands a Froggen.
Killing. Nice. I'm looking. No ulti, Yeah, I'm coming. No flash. They can start to get more aggressive.
Froggen, what a beast! Contract flashes in for the vision. First blood goes to Contract, and now he's on the Drake. And now Jensen just straight in for the play on a rampage. Takes down Key.
Yo, guys, let's play like we're like from the future, dude. Let's play like we're from season 9, dude. Yeah. Imagine like what knowledge we would have if we were from season 9.
Fish out of water, slammed up into the wall, brought down, but Chaser goes with him. Something, but it's not gonna be done. He kicks one into the other, and they are toast.
Oh yeah, no flash, no ult. Okay, can you better?
Yeah. Hell yeah, we can.
Lodge falls to Zig. Looking for the game. At number 1 is gone. Phoenix won, ladies and gentlemen. 3 games, 29 minutes later, they are going to take this series against Dignitas.
I am joined on stage by Hotshot GG and Reginald. Gentlemen, thank you for taking some time.
Let's go. We gotta finish, and we're gonna turn down, okay? Kill Ringer. We're gonna turn.
Grab us that. Chin. They're flashed out. Okay, kill Poppy, go mid.
Big play there from TSM. Afro is gonna go down as well. TSM gets it all.
I'm jumping. Careful where you ball.
I can stun her. Can we kill her?
Yeah.
She's stunned. Kill her.
I can silence. I flashed that. Nice.
And they complete a dominant sweep versus CLG.